Believe it or not, Notre Dame fans, but fall camp is almost here. It's next week. We're going to talk about the quarterbacks in this video with Tim Hyde. Please hit the thumbs up on it and subscribe to the channel for more content. Go to blueandgold.com for much more previewing fall camp. And Tim, I feel like in all of our shows recently, we've kind of danced around the quarterback discussion. It's like, all right, we'll get there. We'll get there. Let's have the talk right now. CJ Carr, I feel like, is more the odds-on favorite, so to speak. Like everyone, I think most people expect him to be the guy. And Kenny Minchey is definitely going to have something to say about this. From what I'm being told, this is very much a battle. Both guys have a real chance to win this job. It's not like, hey, you guys are going to battle, but it's really this guy's job. No, this is a true battle. So just tell me about your expectations for both going into fall camp. Like, give an overview. If maybe Notre Dame fans aren't very familiar with CJ Carr and Kenny Minchey, they just watch Notre Dame on Saturdays and they have stumbled upon this video. What's the outlook for both of these guys? Like, what do we need to know about them?
Well, I think the outlook is extremely high for both these guys. You just go back, rewatch their film when they, our old recruit videos back in the heyday when these guys came aboard. And I mean, they're electric. I mean, they're two, blue chip quarterbacks, two Elite 11, competitive guys. Kenny Minchey won one of the competitions. I want to say the pro day during his Elite 11. CJ Carr won the accuracy challenge during his Elite 11, if I remember right. So you got two highly competitive guys that went to the most elite camp and won a competition there, which is awesome. So, yeah, Carr's got the hype because he's been around. I feel like we've been talking about him for 8 years together, you and I. It's just like he's here. And if it's his time, awesome. He's a hell of a football quarterback as far as fundamentals go. His pocket presence is outstanding, just going off of his film again back in his high school days. 1 year he had a great O-line. 1 year, as you know, his O-line was not good. So you saw him scrambling, moving out of the pocket, able to plant, throw different arm angles, doing whatever he needed to do. He had a heck of a tight end, if I remember right, during his year up there in high school. And with Kenny Minchey, I just thought beautiful passes, great play action, a lot of bootlegs, a lot of him on the move out there in his high school in Nashville. Outstanding athletes, great quarterback coaching, as you know, their private coaches are big time, some of the top guys in the nation. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. It's going to be nerve wracking because you're like, who the heck's going to go play Miami? You got, one of two rookies. Really haven't had a true get after it competition since 16 when it was, Deshaun Kaiser and Malik Zaire. That was a big one, obviously, the last couple of years. We know the competition wasn't real. You're going to be the guy. You're going to be the guy. And we have seen that. So that's what's exciting. Lastly, is, you and I have talked about it. We don't want to jinx it, Mike, but we truly believe this is the best wide receiver room in some years. And we know it. At least during Freeman's year. No doubt about it. When you look at Freeman's, going into year 4, this is his best collection of wide receivers. And fans truly believe you're going to have a quarterback that can throw. So that whole who's going to be, Riley Leonard, it's 3rd and 2. He's running quarterback power. But this year you feel like you could pass. Maybe you could be a little bit more aggressive with a pass on certain downs this year because these guys have electric arms. And that's what's nice. So we really haven't seen a big-time passer. I mean, obviously Hartman was expected, but we didn't have the wide receivers.
Yeah.
Jack Cohn once Jack Cohn got in a rhythm, but he had some really good wide receivers. Obviously Kevin Austin and Michael Mayer being Michael Mayer. So you had that outside presence and getting the ball around all over the field. So, going back to those, Jack Cohn's second half of the season when they were rolling. So
but then Cohn was a statue back there. He couldn't move like either of these guys, and he got pulled a good bit too.
And I'll spend a moment on that, bouncing off of that, Mike. Is obviously we always hear about the Denbrock quarterback, but he wants to throw. All this talk of run. I just recently rewatched the Indiana game, and when you just take scrambles, throwaways, whatever, all drop back. He dropped back 39 times against IU. Just at least attempts, penalties, everything, at least attempts. That's telling you he does want to chuck it. There are times where he wants to throw the ball. So he's had quarterbacks that can, and I truly believe he's going to utilize that this year, throw the ball. And I think we're going to see more pocket movement with a young quarterback. You want to protect him and move the pocket some. So we didn't see it. For as athletic as Riley Leonard was, we didn't see a lot of boots. I think we're going to see some of those this year with one of these two quarterbacks, which is exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. Denbrock wants to chuck the ball around, but he's definitely going to protect his quarterbacks, like you
Yes.
said, especially with those first two games. I mean, CJ or Kenny, they're going on the road, for that first start, whichever one Notre Dame goes with. So yeah, I mean, Tim, let's talk about that aspect. Like for what Notre Dame has, you would expect. All right, they're going to run the football, right? They're going to put their quarterback into better situations than just like, yeah, let's have them drop back 50 times. So it's like, all right, you're going on the road against Miami. You need to control the game. You need to control the line of scrimmage. Maybe you want Jeremiah Love and JD Price to win you some of these games than a quarterback in his first start on the road, unless dude, one of these kids is just like built for the moment. We'll see.
Yeah.
But you would assume for a coach, it's like, all right, we're gonna put these guys in the best situation. So I think as the year develops on, like these two or one of these two is really going to emerge as that downfield passer. But maybe early on, Tim, let's especially with a defensive head coach, Freeman does not want his quarterback to turn the ball over.
Yeah, it's not so much, going empty and chucking the thing all over the place like you're the run and shoot back in the heyday. But I think what fans are expecting, as a fan here and thinking about this football team with the wide receiver unit, this might be the first time really in the Freeman era you could have a true wide receiver go up and win some 50-50 balls, which they haven't had. They haven't. I always go back to the Buckner game against Marshall, where they chucked that thing deep 20 yards plus against Marshall, 10 plus times in that game, no completions.
Yeah.
I think because they didn't have the guys. I'm just using that as an example of one of the games in the Freeman era, where now you have Malachi Fields Malachi Fields looks like, he's a Boykin, Chase Claypool body size, where his catch radius is insane, where you could max protect and attack down the field. They didn't really, do it, with Riley Leonard. As we know, the time they did it was the NIU interception. Don't do that again. Exactly. But I think with one of these two quarterbacks, you can attack down the field. You could get Greathouse, which we saw in the last two playoff games, matched up one-on-one and make a play. And Faison, but really, to me, the wild card's Will Pauling. I absolutely love him. Rewatch his Wisconsin film. I think he's an electric football player underneath and a guy you could match up some one-on-one and attack. So the wide receiver room is solid. You got four: Fields, Pauling, Greathouse, Faison. You're going to need, who's that fifth and sixth guy to merge? Is that Micah Gilbert? Is that Elijah Burris? Cam Williams develop in year two. So one out of those three is going to be needed somewhere, obviously this season. But yeah, obviously a heck of an O-line returning, great running backs. Man, there's those moments in every single football game. You got to throw the football. And
yeah,
we're Dame fans, we know that against Ohio State, a moment you got to throw the football, and they completed it. So they're going to have that in Miami, and they're definitely going to have that in the A&M game. So Carr, Minchey, trust these wide receivers, I think, down the field this year much more than we've seen in the first 3 years with Marcus Freeman at the helm.
Let's call our shot, Tim. I don't think it's probably a bold thing to say that it's CJ Carr. I do want to say that, like, don't sleep on Kenny Minchey in this. I did. Before spring ball, I slept on Kenny Minchey. I was like, I do not see a path for him. I feel like you're either going with Steady Steve or you're turning the reins over to CJ Carr. Obviously, that was incorrect. Steve's out. We'll see if that was the right call after this season ends and we see what Steve does at Syracuse and all that kind of stuff. But CJ versus Kenny, I think it's gonna be CJ. But I'm telling you guys, it's a close battle prior to fall camp. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I'll take the long-winded approach, as in this battle is not going to end August 15th. You and I have not spent a lot of time really talking quarterback since the blue and gold game, but the handful of times I've gone back and rewatched it, they're both going to be needed at some point. I I don't know. I just have that gut feeling going back to Ian Book, Brandon Wimbush, when they started to mix and match a little bit in 18 there, and obviously
Do you think it's like, they may need to get
I,
some fresh blood in there to give a spark, like that kind of thing?
could be, could be. I just sometimes think you got two young guys that really haven't played football in a couple of years. They just haven't. I mean, Carr did nothing last year. He had a shoulder injury or the elbow, excuse me. Don't forget. Kenny Minchey hasn't played football really 3
He didn't
years.
play much his senior year, 4 or 5
His senior
games.
year, he missed half the season his senior year with an injury. So you got to go back to his junior year in high school since he's been the dude each and every snap. So these guys have not played a lot of football, which now that I'm saying that scares the hell out of me. So it's but they're super talented. Carr's got to be the odds-on favorite just because you could get that extra year with him, right? Probably, and I don't like using he's the better passer because they both could throw. They legitimately both could throw. All you have to do is watch their highlights, and you see these guys could put up tosses all over the field, out routes. The Minchey boot he threw on a dime in the spring game was outstanding. Obviously, Carr going back to his. I would go Carr. I think it's 55-45. I think it's that tight.
I think something like that sounds right.
I also believe, going back to my point of they haven't played a lot. So do the coaches just like, man, Carr's had 6 straight incompletions. Minchey, go out there and scramble, and we're going to throw a boot for you. We're going to max protect, try and hit the deep post. Do they do something like that to where they're needed? It sucks because your first 2 games are the 2 hardest games in the year. You don't have like what Michigan had a couple years ago, right? Where they 3 games, 3 different starting quarterbacks, and we'll figure it out. You don't have that. You don't have that luxury this year, but that's why I'm saying they both might be needed. It's not a cop-out or anything. I just think it's honest opinion of where these 2 guys are in their development. They just haven't played a lot of football. So I would go, you're going to health. Everyone stays healthy. Get going down into, South Florida. I would go CJ Carr just because just something about some of that arm talent that he has is legit. So I would go him, but Minchey's going to be right there. He's going to be right there.
Yeah. Well, folks, let us know what you think about what we've said, your thoughts on this quarterback battle in the comments of this video. Hit the thumbs up, of course, if you've not done so yet. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And as always, we'll catch you next time.